Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. And we've got a treat today. We're interviewing a gentleman named Phil Capron, and Phil is a podcast listener, has been since day one, and he has been to one of my boot camps and has gone from 2 units to, once he closes on what he has under contract right now, 200 units in a year. So Phil started out in the Navy in the Special Warfare Unit. He was a combatant in the Special Warfare Unit and actually practiced with SEALs. And I'm sure he's got a lot of stories I wish we had time to go into there. But got his real estate license while he was in the Navy, started flipping houses, and then just got excited about multifamily. And here we are. Phil, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, Rod. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor, sir.
Oh, thank you, buddy. That kind of you to say that. So, let's go back and talk about your progression in this business. Maybe embellish on some of that. That was kind of a pathetic attempt at your bio, because it's a very impressive. And thank you for your service, man. That's really very, very cool. But let's talk about how you got rolling and how you got to where you're at.
Excellent, and it was an honor. So, I'm very privileged to have been able to do what I did within the Navy, which was a really cool job, jumping out of planes, shooting big guns, going on fast boats and being sneaky generally. So it was an honor, and I got to serve alongside of some real life heroes. I am not, but I definitely know a few. One of which is in your group, Eric Upchurch. Mm-hmm. He served with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, who got a lot more notoriety to the public eye when they inserted members of SEAL Team 6 to kill Osama bin Laden. So
right. Yeah, Eric's a great guy. We just helped him get his book going to teach vets how to house hack. So that
yes,
definitely. I don't usually endorse stuff, but that was a no-brainer for me. And I actually wrote the foreword for the book.
I know, and it's on order. I can't wait to read it, and definitely got a soft spot for the same stuff that Eric does, and super cool for you to help him out with that. And like I said, it was an honor. But it sort of served as a springboard to get into real estate, because I always academically understood real estate was a good thing to get into. And through the VA loan, which offers service members and eligible spouses to obtain a primary residence at zero down, when I arrived at my duty station here in Virginia, I said, I'm gonna buy a house that has more space than I need, that I can rent to my less entrepreneurial, brothers, and pay for my mortgage. So, when I bought that house, a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, a block from the beach, I had rules. I mean, no shoes in the house, do your dishes, everything was to be just so. But one night after a couple cocktails, as Navy gentlemen sometimes do, when that cup of Papa John's garlic sauce, the kind, went whizzing across my dining room and exploded on the wall, I said, all hope here is lost. And that taught me an important lesson about real estate. It's just property. Let your home be your home. But if you're looking at something as an investment, you have to take a little bit of the emotion out of it. And, it's one small step that, led me into investing is realizing that it's just a vehicle here. Everything's replaceable. That's what insurance is for, those sorts of things.
Right. Yeah, no question. And just about anything can be fixed with a check. There's no reason to get emotional or upset. So you got your real estate license while you're in the Navy. You did some flipping. You started getting excited about multifamily.
Yeah. And actually kind of fell into it by accident. Done about 40 flips. So I certainly know enough to be dangerous, but like you tell everyone every week, and every guest says, like a broken record here, but flipping is just a job. You can make some good income, but as soon as you stop, it stops. And, as an agent, I took a friend of mine to a 14-unit complex. It was, 4 duplexes, a triplex, and 3 single families on 2.5 acres. And, my friend owns about 30 units. So I figured, he could buy this and I could make 27 or 30 grand on the commission, and that would be a pretty good result for me. So the list price was $925. He offered $825. They're hovering around $850. couldn't make a deal. The agent calls and says, hey, he'll do owner financing. So I relay that to my guy, and he says, I have my own money. I don't care. And I said, he doesn't care. He said, well, do you know anyone that would buy it with owner financing? I said, I've been studying this multifamily thing academically for years. Would he sell it to me? He said, bring $100,000 and yeah, he'll sell it to you. So I called one of my Navy buddies who partnered with me on all my early flips and said, hey, can I get $100,000? We'll split this thing 50-50. He said, absolutely. So we do our due diligence. I do a poor job of it. So anyone that is about to buy something, definitely listen to Rod's stories about due diligence, because I did about everything wrong. So we're 2 weeks from closing. I get a call from California. Hey man, I'm not comfortable doing something so long-term. I'm out. That's not good. 10 days out from
for the $100,000.
For $100,000. So I go meet with the seller who's 80 years old on his dock, bring him a cup of coffee. I said, sir, I apologize, but I'm not able to make good on my contract. I don't want you to be damaged. So the earnest money is yours. Put it back on the market. I'm going to go, get the money. But if you find someone else in the meantime that can give you identical terms, I don't want you to be damaged. And I feel horrible. And he says, well, what can you do, young fella? And I have $20,000 in the bank. So I'm supposed to say something below 20, but I got nervous. So I said, I could do 40. And he sticks out his paw and he said, okay, we'll close next week as planned. And I go, what did I just do? So I get on the horn to, a bunch of guys and essentially asking for a signature loan because I can't attach it to the property. And a few friends call me back and all of a sudden I have 35,000. So I said, well, if I'm raising money, I left out an important part. So the owner financing is 810,000 at 6% on a 30-year AM without so much as a credit check. How can you beat that?
Right.
And then he's going to give me an owner second for 60,000 at 0% for a year. And then it picks up if I don't pay it off. And then I need to bring the 40, right? So my buddies are willing to give me 35. So I end up closing on a $910,000 14-unit piece of property for $5,074.01 of my own money.
Look at that. Hope you guys all heard that. That's what's possible. If you bonded with the seller, you were honorable, you took the time to lay it out. You solved a problem. The owner didn't need the cash. He didn't want to pay the taxes. He's able to forestall taxes, only pay taxes on what he receives every year. And you solved a problem. That's a beautiful story. Love that one. Awesome.
I left out an important part too.
Okay.
So, before my original partner backed out, I said, what if the tenants all move out and mutiny? What if something happens with the pipes? I need some money in an account like you have. So what do you want? I said, how about the first 6 months, no interest? So the first 7 months, I brought in over $45,000 in cash flow. So I paid off my buddies and then some. And my little $5,000 investment, that's like a 900% ROI. So
fantastic. So you had no interest the first 6 months. So you were able to literally make everybody whole, get your people paid back, and you're in this deal for nothing. Mm-hmm. And wow, what a sweetheart deal. Fantastic. So what was next? I mean, I know what event did you come to?
Chicago.
You went to the Chicago event. That was a big one.
Awesome, folks. It was so much fun.
I'm really glad to hear it. I'm glad. And, talk about your experience of it. Cause I've got another one coming up in Tampa, January 18th, 19th, and 20th. And just tell people what you thought of the event.
Well, I will see you in Tampa then.
You will. All right.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So a couple of my buddies from a mastermind group that I'm a part of said, hey, Phil, we know you're into multifamily, we should go to this thing. I said, I've been listening to Rod for years. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in. So the three of us go. It's my buddy Rory, who you may remember, and my buddy Greg. Mm-hmm. So the three of us are sitting there in the front row, and I just went through the course book. Actually, I have it right here.
That's great.
That's I go through it from time to time because if nothing else, the goal setting that you led us through, I'm going through some of the things that are in there. And I said, in the next year, I'm going to go from 125 units, which is what I had when I walked in Chicago, to 325 units. And, you encouraged me to expand my backyard. I was looking hyper local just in Virginia Beach and Norfolk. where I live. You said, you know, anything within 2 or 3 hours is your backyard. Know it, love it, establish relationships, go forth and prosper kind of thing. And
Right.
so I got back and then I started searching in Richmond, Virginia, the state capital, big MSA. And, you know, ended up contracting 82 units less than a month later. And so when that
Nice.
closes by the end of the year, I'll be a little over 200 units.
Nice.
And well on my way to my 325 unit goal that I set with you. And there's a few other things in there that, you know, are also coming to fruition, the power of goal setting. And I know, you know, I'm not the only one that, you know, got out of there and did things. My buddy Rory is doing a KP role with the syndication through folks that he met at your event. Greg is doing an LP role with a couple of different people, as far as I know. And some great folks that I met there that are part of your Warriors program, Trina and Wesley, are most likely going to come in and shore up my team on Richmond.
Yeah.
So it's about who you know. Your network is your net worth. If you're sitting there on the couch and you're like, well, I don't know people, get to an event, get to a RIA, you know, find a mentor, find a coach, and do something, you know, because if you don't do anything, how can you expect any kind of results or any
You're
kind
going to be the same place you are now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And how does that look? Yeah, guys, if you can make it to my event, it's a no brainer. It's me teaching for 3 days, a lot of high energy. Would you agree?
super high energy? I
Right.
mean, they were long days,
Right.
but even afterwards, you know, people still had time to hold court around the bar, and you
Right.
know, it's just like one big happy family. I can't, you know, name everybody that I've met there that we're now like friends. Like we talk every week, even if they're, you know, in San Diego or Houston or
Yeah,
Boston, wherever.
that's one of the biggest advantages of this thing is the networking, which I, you know, which we promote and actually have people do whether they want to or not. And you know, and what do you think of the training and the panels?
It was top notch. I've been to several events, you know, real estate centric, and then, you know, with different masterminds and in groups that I'm a part of, more on like the self development side or the whole person side, not, you know, real estate specific. And I mean, like look at the book. It's, you know,
Well,
how many
we're going to be
pages,
on iTunes,
how
so
many
people can't
pages
see.
is big?
People can't.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, people can't see
Gotcha.
you on the
Yeah,
video, but yeah,
most people aren't watching. Sorry, I forgot
right.
about that. But I mean, it's more comprehensive than a lot of college textbooks. And
Yeah.
you know, if you know nothing, you could just go through the playbook that you've written and do something.
Right. Right. Well,
You know,
a lot of people do, you know, and you know that I push the psychology of success at my events because really 80 to 90% is actually taking action on what you learn. It's the, you know, the people tune into this, to the interviews for the for the technical side of things. But candidly, that's 20% of it. You actually have to go out and do it, which you have done. But a lot of people, you know, get caught in analysis paralysis, or they have limiting beliefs, or they're fearful, and we hit that as well. Well, I'm super excited that you're doing as well as you're doing. So you know what, this let's drill down on one of these units. Let's talk about the one you have under contract. So it's an 88. What is it? 82 unit? 82
yeah,
door?
it's 82 units. It's a split site, so it's
Okay.
18 in one place and a 64.
Okay. How far away from each other are they?
About 5 miles. So,
Okay.
you know, you know, speaking about taking action, it's kind of funny. We talked about this before we started rolling. You know, the guests that you have on this podcast are like out of this world.
Right.
You know, Hal
Thank you.
Elrod. I'm going to his event next weekend in San Diego.
Nice.
Rock Thomas is a big
Right.
mentor of mine. David Osborne is a big mentor of mine.
Right.
And, you know, those guys, what the things that they've done are, you know, they're way, 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 way ahead of me. They've had a little longer, but something that I'm doing and that I hope, even if one person listens to me and says, well, that freaking guy can do it, surely I can.
Right.
Do something, right?
Just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. You just got to take action. By the way, guys, if you're interested in Tampa, it's multifamilybootcamp.com. I would love to see you there. But so that 82 unit, it's under contract, and how do you plan to finance it?
So that's something that I do a little bit different than a lot of your students. Is I'm looking for the really ugly ducklings.
Okay.
because I'm a recovering flipper, it's just where I feel comfortable. I can academically understand looking at a 300 unit where you're taking, a cap rate from 6% down to 5.5%, and you're going to create all this value by essentially doing nothing and maybe some management efficiencies. And obviously, I'm grossly oversimplifying.
Right.
But we know that we're towards the top of a market. I want to get into something that has been terribly managed. The tenants have been mistreated. The physical condition is deplorable, because no matter what happens with the market, I know that I'm forcing appreciation.
So what's the vacancy on this ugly duckling?
Currently it's 92% physically occupied.
Okay.
And economics about 85.
85%.
So
okay.
For a C minus, or even if we want to call it a D on the 64 unit, it could be
area worse. or the building or both.
I'd say that the area is probably a D. There's a 500 unit government housing down the street, and it's notorious. It's bad.
Okay.
So, during my due diligence, the first stop I made, and this is a tip I got from you from the show, the first stop I made when I went up to do my physical due diligence was with the police.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey guys, who owns this? Is it the Bloods, the Crips, like MS? Like, who owns it?
Right.
And, it's a double-edged sword here, because there's no institutional gangs that own it. So that's great, because if they want you out, they can probably pull some strings. But who is there is a bunch of juvenile, no-name flash in the pan gangs, and sometimes they like to shoot at each other.
Okay.
So
this is in your property?
No, in the project down the street.
In the project. Got it. Okay.
So I went through the crime report with a fine-tooth comb, and you have targets of opportunity within my complex: your vehicle break-ins, your petty thefts, occasionally an assault, occasionally a concealed weapon or a drug that you find on my block. And then when you go down a couple hundred yards to the project, you have profound issues.
Okay.
So I told the guys at the precinct, well, I'm going to go by tonight and just see what I see. They're like, don't do that. Don't do that. They might shoot at you. I was like, I'll shoot back.
Okay. So what's your plan? I mean, what's your plan to turn this thing around and have a safe environment for tenants? So
it's tips that I got from you, and the couple episodes with Maureen were also very, very helpful with some creative some ideas.
Maureen Miles, she's a good friend, and she's in my mastermind, and a couple thousand units. She's a real success story. So what were the tips?
And Steve Firestone I listened to his
Steve
episode
too.
like 5 times to get
Nice.
his, Steve focuses on that. So when I went back there at night, of course there's crime. There's only lights on 2 of the buildings. There's 8 plexes across the city block. There's only lights on 2, and guess what? They're not working. The trees are all overgrown. It's scary. I mean, I can't imagine being, a single woman arriving at night and having to go into that place.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing. So the trees are getting trimmed back. Every 8-plex is getting an owner-controlled electrical panel, which doesn't currently exist. And there's going to be 2-way spotlights at every corner and above every doorway, because it's like a pod entrance to a 4-plex, 2 entrances per building. Okay. And then we're going to do real and fake security cameras so that the whole property is covered, and signs that say more or less, hey, Richmond PD has our login information. Take it down the street, if you're doing something you're not supposed to do. And more than that, the specific tip I got from you was there's been no on-site management in years and years and years. I'm downing one of the units to be on-site management during the day. And at night, there's going to be a couch, a TV, a coffee pot, and a fridge full of food. And the guys that are on the beat, the local police, I've talked to them, and they're like, yeah, we absolutely will stop by and watch TV from your place rather than sitting in a parking lot somewhere and eat all of your food. And when we get a call, we'll roll out. So, it's essentially. So
you're going to set up a little. Yeah, I did that once myself. So
right.
So you listen to what I said. You set up a little substation basically in your complex. That right. has that causes the bad element to be like cucarachas, man. They like scatter. They're gone.
The criminals are dumb, but they're really dumb, but they're not that dumb. They're going to go to some place that's an easier target.
They go to low-hanging fruit, sure, no question.
So once we just do those couple of things, it's going to dramatically reposition it. But we've got about a 400,000 we're looking at for CapEx over 64 units. So 6,000 a door, give or take. And,
that's a nice remodel. So you're going to do some nice things, appliance packages and the like, countertops, the flooring, plank flooring, things of that nature.
We're making it safe and habitable and clean. You know what I mean? Poor people do not equal bad people. I was really encouraged when I went through them in every unit, and I found, uniforms for fast food or kitchens, or the reflective vest for road workers. When I come in and there's 10 people there and they're wearing the newest Nikes and diamond earrings,
that's a problem.
You got on my list as I've asked that the current owner serve them 21-day notice of non-compliance that I can file unlawful detainer as soon as we take over.
Right.
Because if they're up to that stuff, you go through a lease and there's something you're not complying, whether it's occupants, whether it's the pit bulls, whether it's cleanliness.
Let me ask you this. As you know, I try to steer people away from D-class properties. Now you have a lot more experience with your flipping and your military background. You're not really afraid of things as much as some people might be. And, and you understand that this is a much more intensive management play. That said, what's the exit strategy for that property? Are you just going to hold it for cash flow, or what's the plan?
I wish I could show this on the map. So let me just try to describe it. Anything I'm buying for legacy. So something that I'm doing different than a lot of other operators is I'm going into recourse bridge type financing. So I got
you have to with what you just described. Right. Yeah. So you're going to have to be on the hook for it, and you're going to have to do bridge financing until it's stabilized. But please continue.
So all in, we're around 2 million. I'm not going to be specific because it hasn't closed yet. In the low 2 millions between our purchase and our CapEx, right? Mm-hmm. The current NOI is abysmal. By taking rents to market, by instituting a small RUBS, we believe that we can achieve an NOI around 200,000, which should give us a valuation in 24, 36 months of around 3 million. And at that point, the building will be in a condition that we can either go through agency or through the Virginia Housing Development Authority that will actually do up to 95% financing, which I think on a refi,
on a cash out refi.
Okay, maybe not on a cash out refi. They'll do it on Reno. The red tape is so insane. So I got to get with my broker and see what the best play is. But whether we, at a valuation of 3 million, give or take, sell it and take $1 million, that's okay. If we decide the management's not worth the risk, or we retire all our debt, that's more my model, is to get into something that I can essentially flip as a building, recapture all of our equity, and then sort of like the little 14 unit, we're playing with house money.
Right.
And, the advantages of commercial real estate are so vast. When you go ahead and you start adding zeros, talking about millions, your tax depreciation becomes extremely significant to the members of the partnership. Your appreciation, which we don't count on, but over a 10 or 15 year hold it's very significant. And your debt pay down. It's just, people wonder why you go to multifamily from single. That's why.
Sure.
Those numbers become really, really exciting. And everything I'm buying for legacy, but we want to have a sale plan if for some reason that makes sense too.
Sure. No, if you're buying at those kind of numbers, you'll likely be fine, and maybe you'll get lucky in the area. You'll turn a little bit, but with D assets, you got to be careful, because typically the exit plan is cash flow. It really is, the biggest play with D is just it's a cash flow play, more management intensive, but definitely a cash flow play. So let me ask you this, throughout the last couple of years, you've been playing around with this multifamily. Any aha moments or experiences come to mind?
Sure. Yeah. An aha moment, it was something that, you say all the time, is that you have to add value. When I first approached this 109 unit split site portfolio, the broker was frustrated because they've been on the market for a while. The seller is frustrated because they had deals fall through. And, there was a lot of deferred maintenance. The sellers were the heirs of the gentleman who built all the properties back in the 70s and 80s. And they don't, they didn't really have an appetite to own multifamily. They'd sort of taken what they could take out of it in the way of refi and cash flow, and they're just ready to be done. And that happens. So the broker and the seller want surety of closing. We obviously want a low price. So when I submitted my LOI, I said, hey, if you accept this LOI, there will be no negotiation on price. We understand the condition of the property, unless something's falling into a sinkhole that I couldn't have known about. You sign with us, we're going to close. And I painted the picture to the broker of, the flips that we'd done in the area, who my partners were, and they were able to sell to the seller that, an offer local with somebody who's experienced in construction, has the local management infrastructure and the money to do the deal, is a lot safer than a higher offer from a fund or a syndicator or somebody who may not understand.
Whatever, once they get in, right?
Yeah. And facing a refi, and this is possibly a nugget, if you can figure out where a seller is in the life cycle of their loan, that could be leverage for you as a buyer. I'm not saying to use it maliciously, but when you know that they've got a refi coming in 6 months or a year, you might be their last chance before they have to incur all that aggravation and cost and put it on for another 3, 5, 7 years. Right. So just something to think about.
Right. That's good.
But even within my own partnership, I had resistance to this deal. My one partner is, a residential broker and owns a property management company. And he said, I don't want to do it. I said, well, didn't you want to increase your property management holdings? Sign here and you get to, add 50% to your holdings. He said, okay. And then my contractor said, I own 30 units. I'm not comfortable with 100. I don't know that, you guys are flippers. I don't think you have the required experience here. So then I looped in a commercial broker with 30 years experience. And the contractor said, if the smart money says this is awesome, I'm in. He can navigate us through the lender stuff, the title stuff, and the repositioning with the property management. So every, person in the partnership brought something unique that the others couldn't. And so,
basically what you did is you shored up your weaknesses, which we talk about, which is, play to your strengths and partner or hire or delegate your, where you need help. Even weaknesses or perceived weaknesses. And sometimes they're just perceived. In your case, they were with that contractor, because you definitely could have handled that property on your own without bringing in the broker with the 30 years experience. But, that's what it took to get the deal done. So let me ask you this. What words of wisdom would you share with, listeners that want to do this business, maybe are scared, haven't taken action yet, know they want more, know they deserve more, know they want the life of their dreams. They want to replace their income, their job income, W-2 income with passive income in real estate. What would you tell those people?
To take action, because it beats inaction every time. And that could be as simple as listening to this podcast every week, to reading one blog post every week, to, going and touring one property every week, analyzing one deal every day. Because until you're doing those activities, how do you know what you have? You don't. I looked at hundreds of flips before I ever did my first one. I looked at dozens of multifamilies before I kind of lucked into that 14 unit. But instead of asking or making a statement like I can't do something or it can't be done, change it to how can it be done. My life motto is where there's a fill, there's a way. Hang on, everyone misses.
There's a way.
No. Everyone misses the key part. Where there's a fill, there's a way, or something.
Or something.
Okay. I didn't know how to buy a 14-unit apartment building and make sure the tenants paid their rent and fix things and do turns and manage issues until I did it. I didn't know how to make an LOI on a 100-unit building until I did it. When people tell me I can't do something, and this was a change that has occurred in me since I've up-leveled my peer group. Now that statement means to me that they can't do something. It doesn't mean anything about me. And I'm telling you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're out there seeking more, you're already in the top 1%. You know, we're in America, so we're already in the richest 1% of humans that have ever lived. So you have to go and do it. Look at yourself in the mirror, and wherever you are, realize that you did it. And if you want something different, then you can do that too.
Yeah, love it, love it. Now, if you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self something, what might you do differently? What might you say to that 20-year-old self?
You know, I knew this question was coming, and so we're gonna ad lib it.
Okay.
I don't think I do anything different. I regret nothing. You know,
Okay.
was an ocean lifeguard for 7 years. I played professional poker. I toured the country playing drums for a punk rock band. I played poker for a living, and then joined the Navy and went out for the special ops. Everything that I've wanted to do in life, maybe I haven't succeeded in everything, but it wasn't because I didn't try. You know, the number one regret of the dying is to look back and say, I wish, I wish I had followed my passion. I'd wish I'd asked that girl to dance. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And, you know, in 100 years, nobody's going to care that you're here anyway. So do what you want to do. Try to give back to some people along the way. Honor the people that are most important to you, and be true to yourself, because other than those core people, who else really matters? You don't have to impress them.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What's your favorite quote?
I think I'm going to go with the one that's behind me on the wall. And I know most people aren't going to see that, but I have this little cat who's hanging on this
by a thread.
And his face is just priceless. And it says, success is largely a matter of hanging on after others have let go. So when I was getting ready to go into the Navy, I took one more year as an ocean lifeguard because I wanted to be a beach boy, and it's awesome. Coolest job ever.
Right. You and the Baywatch girls, right?
That's right. It was exactly like that. Yeah. Baywatch was you. So, you know, I asked my best friend who took a different path after high school. He went to the Naval Academy, became an officer in the SEAL teams, and, you know, is a real life, you know, American hero. I said, you know, how do you make it through training? You know, you must be the best at being cold now. He said, no, it doesn't get any easier. You just know you're not going to die. I said, well, how do I make it through training? He said, don't quit. I said, what a cop-out. That's like the worst advice ever. But when I was standing there, you know, getting my pin as a Naval Special Warfare Combatant Craft Crewman, or SWCC, the guys that take the SEALs to and fro on the fast boats, I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and I realized the only difference between me and the guys, the 75% of the people that I started with that were no longer there, is that I didn't quit. You know, I was bloody. I was cold. I was crying, you know, chafed. There was guys stronger than me, faster than me, smarter than me. But if you want to affect change in your life and you want to do anything, it's about what's inside. So go get it. Whatever it is that you want. We're all running different races. Whatever yours is, go and attack it with passion. That's the advice I give to the 20-year-old. And
Nice. Awesome stuff, brother. Well, listen, I really appreciate you being on the show. You did a great job. Guys, he's at philcapron.com, PHILCAPRON.com. And I'd love to see you in Tampa, my friend.
I will see you there, and I'm looking forward to meeting some new friends there and doing some deals together, because that's awesome. What happens at events. That's what we do.
That's what we do. All right, brother. Thanks for being on the show, buddy, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Rod.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a minute to visit iTunes and leave your comments. For more resources or to connect with us further, please visit our website at rodkhleif.com. Tune in next week for our next show.